And good morning and
Great
welcome back. Welcome back.
Great to be back. Jules is fired up. Everybody's fired up for another Nudelberg Daily Huddle. So excited to
I
close
love
the week with you guys.
a couple of things. Jake knocked it out of the park yesterday. I heard from so many people about how great, yesterday was, and he was just lit up, full of passion, really getting after it. So it was super cool.
The old ball coach came out of him yesterday.
He's all right.
Yeah, it was very cool. And a few of my clients and friends have asked if Jake could talk to them, which is,
awesome.
just really incredible. I loved your text in the morning. Nothing like a day trip.
Yeah. I mean, like going to the airport with nothing other than your backpack is just the greatest experience. Because you're light, that there's no real worries. So it was awesome. And it was really cool because the CEO of the company Fresh Edge, who we met with yesterday, is Greg. And Greg asked me at the end of the meeting, he said, "So am I correct in saying that you're going back tonight?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, man, after my own heart," because they own and operate local produce distributors all over the country. So he's constantly visiting their sites. And he said, everybody knows when I come into town, it's a tight schedule for me there because I'm out of Indy on the first flight and I am back to Indy on the first flight possible at the end of the day. So that's his style of day trips to wherever he goes. And it was fantastic. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a little rough by the end of the day, landing in Miami because I couldn't get direct to and from Fort Lauderdale. So I was direct from Lauderdale. Then I was direct back to Miami. But I was home by 10 o'clock. I was sleeping by 10:30 and back in the gym this morning at 5:15 doing the whole thing. So it was right back into my groove and my routine, which I think is really important.
I think that's awesome and a very productive trip. Congratulations. You get to ring the bell in the office. So
there's a big bell being rung this morning. But really just excited about being able to build them a platform so that they can create what we're calling Fresh Edge U, which is an unbelievable curriculum of high performance habits, of financial literacy, and helping their presidents of all of their operators around the country really step up their game in both leadership and operations. So really cool stuff.
Very nice. While you were out playing, I too was on the road yesterday. I was up in Boca and I got to work with the Bank United corporate team, which was really, really cool. And so this guy, Jeff, comes in and he's basically a clone of me. He's wearing a blazer, the white sneakers. So, instant bonding, instant fun time. And there's nothing like getting in front of a group of people who are ready to hear it.
Ready to get better.
They were like, yeah, we've been following you. Bring it. Give it to us.
Want to get better.
And so really, I went off script. I just sort of did some of my presentation and then just got into a deep dive conversation. And they were all very appreciative. So it was great. Thank you, Jerry, for extending my services throughout Bank United. So that was new for me, but great and fun and good stuff. And just kind of validates where we are because everybody in the room was very successful. They were like, wow, you have really changed the way I view this stuff. And it's like, you do that in 90 minutes. I said, it's only a start, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we're going to do something similar next week when we go up to the Harbin Agency on Wednesday, another day trip. This one's slightly easier to Atlanta. Jake and I will be on that trip. But I do have a shout out for Jake, Sarah, and Shay because, I was kind of locked in the room for a few hours. I came out of the meeting and had a text thread of 56 text messages that was in that OTB action group. And I said, hey, what do I need to know here? And it was like, nothing really. We got it done. We executed this, and this. review this, and I was like, look at you guys. This is awesome.
We know what we're doing.
Yeah. You know what the best part of all of that is?
You weren't a part of any of it.
I was not a part of any of it. Thank you, Lord, man.
Really good stuff. So great job by the team of just making it happen when we were out of town and speaking and doing, and just I think that's the most important part of the team, is passing ownership and passing responsibility and letting people operate on their own. And they did a great job yesterday.
You're a great leader. It's fun to watch. So today is Huddler in the hot seat. We have my friend Henry Pisano, who's going to join us. You know, there are, you know, when people describe like who you are to other people, the word colorful comes to mind. Yeah. He's a great human. I've known him a long time. He's just great in terms of his experience, and he's going to spend some time with us this morning sharing his life experiences, which are plenty, man. The stories this guy could tell. But we'll start off with some, we'll wake this thing up, and then we have his his walk-up music, which is incredible.
Let's do it.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up, come on, come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more back to thinking, top of thinking ahead. Come on.
Come fly with me, come fly, we'll fly away. If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in far Bombay. Come on, fly with me, we'll fly away. Come fly with me, we'll float down to Peru.
Hal, what a fantastic way to start the morning. Good morning, Henry Pisano. Welcome to be the Huddler in the hot seat.
Thank you. And what a pleasure. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Steve. And thank you for having me on. And, you know, I was looking forward to the hot seats. I hope it don't get too hot.
Well, I know I'm positive that you're going to have some great perspective and some great stories to share. But can you give everybody kind of the Cliff Notes version of how you came out of the gambling industry and working for Hard Rock and entered into your entrepreneurial journey of, you know, Pisano Destinations and how it all happened?
Well, I mean, I started out as an entrepreneur. You know, after, you know, I left college after 2 years, and I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, born in Naples, Italy. I came here when I was 8 years old, legally. I had to throw that in.
Okay.
And anyway, so yeah, I was an entrepreneur actually first, and actually everything I ever done in my career, you know, you acted like an entrepreneur, you know, even though you're in corporate, you know, but still with a you know, an entrepreneurial sort of way to go about business.
Were you also a legal entrepreneur? I know you came over here legally, but was your entrepreneurship also legal?
That's awesome.
Don't have
It's hot here. Hot here, man.
Don't have to answer that. But so talk, why did you leave school after 2 years to start your own thing? What was really the nest egg for that?
The thing was that it wasn't really for me, school, you know, and then I turned around and I opened up a pool hall at 19 years old. And at 21 years old, I had a cafe. Don't forget, I'm from Newark, you know, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. So I'm just, you know, a kid from Jersey trying to make a day's pay, you know, down here in South Florida, you know. So really what happened was, you know, I left school and I got into a pool hall, me and my partner, Rick. And then from there, you know, we opened up the Roosevelt Cafe. And I was gambling at the casinos down in Atlantic City, 1978, and just happened to, you know, we walked into the Bally's Park Place for a interview for a friend of mine, not even me, but I met Mr. Sam Hogan, which was unbelievable, and I thought he was a stiff. guy with a suit and tie, whatever. And he's like, and I'm asking him, like, what do you do? And he's like, wait, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a businessman. I said, I have stocks in Bally's and everything. I'm like 22 years old. And, he sent me a beautiful letter. That's how I got into the casino business, actually by him recognizing that, they needed the help, first of all, because Atlantic City was just opening. And he sent me a beautiful letter saying, he's going to pay for my school. He was going to pay for my license. And they needed city kids, kids that grew up, especially with an entrepreneurial spirit, to get into the business. And I couldn't, refuse. I went back to my partner and said, look, I'm leaving. I'm going down to Atlantic City. And I opened up Park Place as a craps dealer.
Wow.
That's how I started. Yeah.
And what was it like coming up then? Because then I think you had something like a 20-year career inside of the casinos. What was it like opening up 42 years, excuse me. So what was it like opening up that early casino and being fresh and coming through that chain and watching the way gambling changed over the years?
Well, back then, I mean, was it really interesting, right? Like, we just didn't open Bally's Park Place. We opened up a gambling city, which was only the second city in the entire country to have gaming. And it was an East Coast city. So it wasn't, that only happened once before. It was Las Vegas. We were just the second city to ever. So that was the experience, I think, and it was great. Mark, we're all young. Casinos were opening every 6 months. More young people were coming in. The town was exploding, So the 80s was probably the best of Atlantic City, So we had, and then the thing is that you had to be good, and you had to be good quick.
So my question about that is, were you flying by the seat of your pants and just like whatever happens, or did you have anybody that had done it in Vegas that was helping you in Atlantic City?
Yeah, no. We went to school, we went to Valley School, and Cadillac Bob was my teacher. Of
course.
Right. 30-year grinder. Yeah, 30-year grinder on the strip. He dealt to everybody, really so efficient in his game. He was unbelievable. He taught us, all the mechanics. And, the one great thing about, having mentors, you guys, we all speak about having the men. He was my first mentor in the business. He actually recruited me over to go work at Golden Nugget with Steve Wynn, which became really that really solidified me into the business. And one of the he taught me one of the greatest stories ever. When he told me I don't know shit.
What was it? What was the story?
Well, I was at Golden Nugget, Atlantic City, working for Steve Wynn, and Cadillac Bob was my shift manager. So I go on break. I'm in the dice pit. I'm my first suit and tie job. I thought I made it. You know what I mean? I thought I was I made it, and which I didn't. So I'm walking with Cadillac Bob, and I'm like, I could run this joint. I'm in the racket maybe a year and a half. All right. I could run this joint. Right? He goes to me, you don't know shit. I go, what? He goes, just like that. He took me over to blackjack. You know the procedures in blackjack? I said, I know how to play it. He took me to roulette, took me to baccarat, took me to the cage. He says, you don't know nothing. You won't last 5 minutes. Okay? The next day, true story. The next day, Steve, I went and signed up for blackjack school. And then I went to baccarat school, then roulette school. He was right. And the thing is that taught me was that you gotta know your business. You have to learn it. You have to be part of it. You can't be a one trick pony. It doesn't work.
Sure.
So that's So that he taught me one of the biggest lessons. You don't know shit.
So I met you when you were at Moderano. You were at the original Moderano. Yep. And I was working with a bunch of the Dolphin players, and everybody said, we got to go to Moderano. And basically, and you tell me if I'm telling a story, if you didn't know you didn't get in the restaurant. Man. It was great.
Well, back then, I mean, I was actually came to Florida to work for the boats. Remember the gambling boats, Steve?
Sure.
Okay, that was my original job here. I left them because it just wasn't like I was working. I was used to working in big stores, so I left, and so I was waiting. So as soon as I left them, Hard Rock broke ground. So I said, and Steve grabbed me, says, "Listen, you want to come in with me because my mom can't work the door any longer." And that's what happened. That's why. And and the thing is, it wasn't that. It was Steve that he didn't want no one. And I come out of the casino business, and I'm talking about like high end guys coming into that joint. You know what I mean? And Steve was like, "I don't care. They wait." I go, "Steve, these are the people that are going to come in the summer." He didn't care who you were. You know what I mean?
Oh, so
I'm gonna
did you change his mentality? Were you able to morph him a little bit?
Well, listen, that's a whole nother program. We got that was that, but now he's on Open Table, which is fascinating. 20 years later, he's on Open Table, which before he tried to keep it, And Mark, I'll give you offline. I'll give you some stories.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, he was. It was crazy, but what it did for me though, Mark and Steve, what happened is that I'm waiting for Hard Rock to open. Right, I was going there to go to work, and I was at the door at Moderano's. And at the time, everyone came to Moderano's.
Everyone.
It was on. I mean, it was on, right, Steve? It was like the windows were shaking.
It was insane. I mean, literally, the whole restaurant was celebrities.
Yeah. $2 million worth of cars outside, and but it was the hot spot. I mean, ball players, everybody. So anyway, that actually made me meet everyone in the neighborhood in South Florida, and I brought all that to Hard Rock with me.
So I want to I just want to hit that for everybody really quick. Like just being in the spot where everybody was offered you the opportunity to meet everybody, which we talk about relationship capital all the time. Like that offered you the opportunity to be able to do that. Working in the restaurant business, working in the casino business, what are some of the underliers to success? What were some of the commonalities that were successful in both places?
Well, I'm more about the casinos, but it's always challenging because you know what, Mark, you deal with people, and when you're dealing with the general public, it's really challenging, at all ends, especially in the casino. I mean, everything happens in a casino. I mean, I stand there. I was like, I was like, Ace Rothstein. I stay on the true story on a Saturday night. I could stand right in the middle of the casino, slow everything down, and you see everything that's happening.
Right.
Like there's everything is going on. From I can't really mention all of it, but it's all happening.
Sure.
It's all happening, and it's all going down. And if you just stand there and just slow it down and you watch, it's like basically me being back in Newark on the street corner, only thing with a roof on it, and just like observing, being on the street and going, okay, that guy, he's a bad guy. This guy.
So we talk about situational awareness as a skill set.
Right.
I think athletes like Mark, your college guys, when they got to the pro game, they had to learn to slow the game down because it just happened all around them. It's a skill set to do that.
What Henry talked about earlier, though, was he had grown up in that environment. He had been in that environment for so long, but by the time he got to that, he was able to slow it down. He was able to really see the nuances, which that's the difference between speed and suddenness. As a young guy in the profession, you could be super passionate and want to work really hard and you're moving super fast, but that doesn't offer you the ability to move when you need to move because you're trying to do everything all the time and you're everywhere. As opposed to the more veteran you become, the more experience you have, you're moving faster than people that are trying to move fast because you know when and how to move, which is a better skill set than just being able to be fast. So I think that to me is the difference between speed and suddenness, is that situational awareness. What did that do for you? How were you able to really manage that when you're in the pit, you're watching everything happening? How do you prioritize? How do you then make decisions on what needs to be dealt with and what doesn't when you got everything from A to Z happening?
Well, you know, I started in table games, so I was actually a pit boss and so forth and so on. So, you know, I mean, being actually inside the pit and in the dice pit, you know, the dice game moves extremely fast. Okay, so everything is happening, especially when you have a big crowd around you. The dice are moving, the dice are hot. You know what I mean? So you know, and it's senses.
Yeah.
You have to, the senses is, you know, you start feeling it. You start feeling the senses, and you know, and then you know what, Mark, you're 100% correct, because guess what? It takes time.
Yeah.
You know, you don't build that sense for your business in like, you know, and again, like what you said, and I think I said, is that you slow down to go faster.
Right.
You know, so you know, you have, and there's nothing like the experience.
Yeah.
You know, you can't buy it. You got to you got to go through it. You got to get punched in the face sometimes. You know,
that has been the hardest part for me, transitioning from football to business, because while there are a ton of parallels that helped me speed up the learning curve, it's still a learning curve. There's no shortcut. It still is the curve. And so for me, when I left football, I was confident that I could step into any room with any coach and go toe to toe with you in terms of organization, in terms of X's and O's and all of that. And it takes time it took me 14 years to get there.
And you know what? And people realize that, okay? So like in my business, in the casino, at the Hard Rock, right? At the end, and not even at the end, from the beginning, I went there with 25 years worth of experience. But when you negotiate with that level of confidence, because of your background experience, they feel it.
Yeah.
You know, the people that you're across the table with, they feel it. I negotiated, like I told my CEO, and he actually started with me back in the day in Bally's Park Place. I told him, I says, it's easy for you. You go to Wall Street with this spreadsheet that you have, right? I negotiate with CEOs, self-made billionaires, street guys, right? And all from up and down all day negotiating for this property.
Right.
That's what, you know. But the thing is that my strength was that I had the experience behind me.
Right.
If I was that same kid with Cadillac Bob, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Right.
You didn't know shit.
Right.
And we'll go to overtime.
So we can talk about this stuff all day, but I do want to give you an opportunity to share what you're doing now. Pisano Destinations is your passion. You are helping people go back to Italy. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So, you know, but here we go. Like Mark said, you know, here I am now transitioning, but it's not really that much of a transition, but at 65 years old, I left, you know, the Hard Rock. I retired, but I call it rewired into Pisano Destinations.
That's great.
So, you know, at 65, so now I don't have any departments.
Sure.
I don't have any to go to, because I had departments coming out of my, you know what?
Yeah.
My marketing, so anyway.
Now you're doing it all.
Here I'm 65 and I have to, like, you know, use platforms. Anyway, so I jumped into Pisano Destinations. It's because I was born there. I got my family there. I think I want to show people through my eyes what Italy's all about. I learned how to book business through the casino industry. You know, I had, you know, jets, butlers, and so all of that is a luxury, more of a luxury sort of one-on-one. We build custom itineraries for the most desirable destinations in the world. That's really what we do.
And we all know the most desirable destination in the world is Naples, right?
Well, the best pizza anyway.
Yeah. I don't want to be honest about it.
So, you know, I mean, if you're a pizza guy, yeah, that's one of the most desirable destinations in the world.
No doubt about it.
One thing about Naples, though, you got to understand, it's one of the oldest cities in all of Europe. It was
Yep.
founded by the Greeks.
Yep.
And then the Romans actually kicked them out. But
Yep.
it was Napolis. That was the original name of it. So,
Yep.
you know, and the thing is, what's really great about Naples, people don't really understand, is that, you know, it has a lot of history. And not only does it have a lot of history, it also has the ruins under Naples.
Yep.
And it's called Naples Underground. And you go under there, and there's basically the Roman ruins are like intact.
Wow.
It's really fascinating. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I am way overdue for you to book a trip for my wife and I back to Sicily, because
I'm going
on our
June
last
5th.
trip to Italy, we got to go to Taormina, which we loved that city, and it was fantastic. But I know that there's so much more in Italy, and especially in Sicily, that we need to see. So we will definitely be asking you to build a great itinerary for us to do that.
I'm going to Sicily May 30th.
Okay. How long are you staying?
I'm only staying a week. So what I'm doing is that I'm actually going with my supplier as a tourist, because I want to see how they actually treat the clients.
Yeah.
And I'm doing Taormina, Siragusa, and 2 other stops. And so I'm going to be, you know, so then like anything else, like we just discussed, you have to be, I want to speak intelligently about my business. I've been all over Italy. I haven't been to Sicily.
When you go to Taormina, stop into Lorenzo's shoe shop, take a picture with Lorenzo, and tell him that Mark Nudelberg sent you, and he loves his loafers still.
And that's a father and son business as well.
That is a father and son business. They are unbelievable dudes. They do a great job on social media, and I'm sure you will walk out with a pair of shoes when you go in.
Well, you know what? I'm going to take a picture and send it to you.
Yeah, please do.
I'm going to do that. Yeah, that's
awesome.
that's a must.
Henry, fantastic job.
Thank you for that nugget. I need more, you know, because I'm going to be telling people, hey, stop at Lorenzo's joint.
There you go.
The way it works, man. Word of mouth, baby. Word of mouth.
Oh, fantastic.
That's how I'm trying to build a business. Word of mouth, organically. Thank you for having me on. Thank you that I could, you know, about my business, talk about my business. Thank you so much.
You got it, Henry. Thank you. Great Huddler in the hot seat.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Amen to that one. You guys have a fantastic weekend. We will see you on Monday. Let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down